morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. With this, I would like to welcome Tauqeer, our speaker for today's session. Tauqeer is a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador from India region, and currently he leads the Microsoft Learn Student Advocates and helps building a great community. He is also working as a developer relation engineer at Tezos. But for now, I will hand over to Tauqeer to begin the session. Let me bring him into the stream. There you go. Hi, Tauqeer. Good morning.
Hi, Rashmita. Very good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm absolutely good. Absolutely good. So,
Awesome,
so
awesome,
great morning in India.
awesome. So the floor is all yours. Your presentation is up. So I'll be at the backstage. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Rashmita. First of all, thank you so much to the Microsoft Reactor team for hosting me here. Being as a Microsoft Student Ambassador, it's a duty to advocate the students and the communities about the Microsoft Tech and GitHub Tech. So yeah, hey everyone. So here we are with the GitHub Container Registry. So one who is joining in here, learning about the GitHub Container Registry, I believe you must have learned about the prerequisites. That is obviously the Git and GitHub, because to learn about these container things, you should be very aware of the fact that you are aware of the Git GitHub part, the version control system. Why not to let dive into it and then understand how the container things is being served by the GitHub itself. Kudos. So what is GitHub Container Registry? That is an important factor. So obviously, it's a service to host our containers over the GitHub. Typically, if I say that it allows the developers to directly manage their code. From that code, we have our container, and through that container, we are pushing up there all the build file, all the targeted file, all the TASI files over certain repository and into a total image over a GitHub repo. It's certainly not a GitHub repo, but obviously towards a GitHub. It typically says as a playground for us, as a being a developer and a DevOps engineer, you should be having up these things. So you might be thinking like Rashmita had introduced me up, but yeah, who am I? We'd love to know from my end itself. So yeah, I'm Tauqeer and I'm Gold Microsoft Student Ambassador from the India region. I lead and all the student developers advocates of the Microsoft Learn in the India and level up to connect with the global team. And also I work as a developer relation engineer at Tezos from India. So I'm responsible for managing all the guilds, all the communities, all the tech evangelism of the blockchain space in India. Yeah, if you have got some time, you can connect me on Twitter if you have done. Perfect. Let us move into it. Okay, the slide deck is prepared for you all. So yeah, you should be having some sort of insight how we are doing the things. The container registry, the public or private things, the sort of containers or the guardian for the containers, because over that thing you have the security thing, you have the patching thing for the container on the GitHub. These are fascinating, but OCI complement and interoperability is higher interoperability. What does typically mean? There are some instances or rules made for container to be built using a certain image. Docker has something. There's one thing called as Podman. Red Hat has also introduced a Redshift OCI complement. Ubuntu has also introduced something container. But you might be thinking that they should be communicating locally. Like GitHub has a thing to store every. container being made by all these organizations. But the factors comes in. But the factors comes in when they are able to communicate on a single platform. Let us suppose I have built using the Ubuntu Podman, but I do want to run it on my local using the Docker. So yeah, OCI compliant and interoperability comes in here. The factor comes in here so that you can communicate. So this is all we do at learning of the things. Basically, why do we use GitHub Container Registry? So it's more like a no context switching. Like you do not have to like code on a GitHub and push it on Docker Hub or certainly on any other thing like uh, Azure portal or something on like AWS has a ECS system, their Elastic Container Registry, Azure has ACR, Azure Container Registry, and everyone has their own container registry. So basically, if you're pushing the code over the GitHub, so this becomes a fascinating thing for us to like to build the code as well as keep the code same on the same line on the same patch and connecting those code, the container, the image using the same repo. So this is a compliant thing. Obviously, it's not a no free lunch. Wrong. You might be thinking, yes, it's paid. Not yet. So yeah, absolutely free. Go ahead and try it out. And yeah, made your own pipeline using this thing. GitHub Action has a lot of things, a lot of things. Use it. Basically, how it stands out. You might be thinking like Tauqeer is telling how do we use it, why do we use it, and he's already advocating a lot of stuff for this. But why is it so? How it stands out? So basic, some good questions over here. Okay, no question. Thank you. So basically, it's integrated with GitHub. The first one we had been discussed from last 8 minutes, and obviously there's some security compliance like fine grained token based issues and grain system for connecting the repo with the code, the repo with the container. Obviously, there are version controlling of your code, but not only for your code, but also for your whole container. And standards compliance are you can deploy any OCI compliant images over GitHub Container Registry. How it works, I'll be telling on a uh, simple thing like how it works. But yeah, printing using token, tag the image like it's version 1, version 2, version 3, or it's the latest one. Simply push the image. That's it. All good and all set. Obviously, we are developer, we are DevOps engineer, so we need the things to be built up. So what are those? But do we need it? And how are we doing? Just push and tag and chill. Like you have your coffee like this. I'm having my coffee here. All you need to do is just brew up your coffee, just do your thing, and it will be doing the thing for like pushing, containerizing the concept, and almost everything. Do you know a concept of multi-platform and multi-arch? You might have heard about the multi-shade, but yeah, multi-platform is a very important factor you have to understand while using the container system. So through this, you can have a multi-arch build, and it will be flexible and showing all of the stuff around. Microservices dream team. So what is all about? When you run a DevOps flow and you have a lot of team around, like, and you are working, so you have the most of the community, the connectivity with the team through the container registry itself. You have the people in the organization on GitHub, use it as a container registry. Simple as it. We'll be diving more into it, no problem. So what are some real-time use cases? Obviously, most of the any of the open source project are pushing their like building their image or the containers using the images. So where are they stored? Obviously, some of them are on Docker Hub. Wait, It's also on GitHub Container Registry. Obviously, now these days, since the code is being deployed over the GitHub, developers are moving towards the GitHub Container Registry. Obviously, the Microsoft architecture, because there are a lot of services moving around, this and that, all in a sudden. Since GitHub has a bunch of features, testing and deployment and development, just push your container, push your image, directly test it over there. No, directly store it, version control it, and yeah, simply do it. We are just getting out of the work on my machine. It doesn't work on my machine. Out of the big thing. I've been talking about CI/CD pipelines. So what is all about? It's continuous integration and container development. Let us suppose you have a container or is the image over there, and you have built a script like in a YAML file for the CI/CD deployment over a server. The server can be on Azure or any of the server you use. I'm not only talking about Microsoft. So what is it all about? What happens there? The thing happens here. You set out a script in which you had taken the trigger, the token from the container, like hey container, this is where on the server you have to get deployed using this port, using this daemon mode, and yeah, your progress is there, and you have the running application on the server up and running. Since a lot of features are embedded into GitHub Container Registry, internal security applications are also built in the containers, like GitHub Container Registry, like the private things which help us to make the people aware that hey, your code is not typically public, uh, or like to the organization who are not publicly available, or like they are working the private, that they are not open source companies. They use these features. They push their code as a container, as an image over the system as a private one, and use them most friendly. So the question arises that what about security? Hey, Tauqeer, you are talking a lot about uh, the things you should be doing. You should be doing this. This is the fascinating thing about data content. So, what are those security features? Are the things secure here? So, being telling about the things like I've been telling, like you have the public and a private mode. These typically things are offered on the Docker Hub or any of the container registry, but over there you have to pay. On the GitHub Container Registry, it's absolutely free. Yes, you heard it correct. It's absolutely free. So use it out. Try it today. Just go to your packages and yeah, and yeah, uh, the time it is pushed over your container registry on the GitHub. No? GitHub uh, keep on scanning all the codes on the patches on the modules under the container so that it can examine like, hey, how the things happening and is there any security issues or security leak the code can do for us, right? So thank you so much for this, and I'm just having my slide deck prepared, get prepared. So I'll be like sharing my screen and showing off the code. But yeah, thank you so much. You have my email ID. You can write it on. I'm much active on Twitter and Telegram. Yeah, they're on LinkedIn, but yeah, just message me on if you get time, and we can have a chat on DevOps. Uh, Meanwhile, I'm sharing my code, and if I get into packages, to all the viewers who are watching this out, remember one thing: all the services being embedded, like npm packages, container packages, any of the services or any of the rulers out things being provided by GitHub, it is under the GitHub packages. So GitHub packages is a service under which GitHub Container Registry services comes in, and there are a lot of features you can check out. I have couple of things around. I'll be telling you how you can code and push it up here. Before I dive into the code, so here are my things. I'll be telling you out like it's a simple hello. Node.js project, right? Uh, Let me close it. You can have a just look around my uh, application. It's app.js, right? And if I just you can check out my Docker file. I'll be just narrating it. So give me some moment. Um, you can have an overview of my directory structure, how I am having the public folder, how I am in the JS folder, how I am using the SRC folder, and under the SRC, how I am preparing the code that can be triggered out using the npm start. Before we dive into this thing, you can have a close look upon my packet.json because it's quite important because it helps us to narrate the things how the Docker file is visually created and how it will act upon or in the container. So this is quite a legitimate thing you should be understanding. So it's a script here and npm start. It says that node src app.js. So typically app.js contains my trigger file. It can be initialized and my node.js application will be started running on. If I directly and they're shifting. Here you go. So this is typically my same folder on the terminal. The same folder you are using here. I'll let me show you to video query, right? So you can have a close look like how I'm doing the things. And if I type it here, all good, right? Let us suppose if I type npm start. So what are the things that happening? It says that hey Tauqeer, go to a local and hello world, welcome to the Microsoft Reactor. So this file is being triggered on the local, right? There's some use cases that people say that, hey, do we need to do up the things to be portable over the other internet services, or like cannot be like directly push this code on the GitHub and share with those people that who will be using all of this stuff. So I'll be like, hey, Fox. So this is like an overview. Like, why are we even using the container if you just want to share your code using GitHub and do not want to take care of all the dependencies which have been installed, right? To get free of the dependencies, to get free of the build file, to get free of the distribution files, build up the container. So, I'm sorry, I cannot use the terminal here because it will hide up my code. It is quite possible that you won't be able to look up the code. It's a very simple with code. My service is running over here, right? If I run sudo docker build, why docker, why docker? Because the container I'll be using over this overview or the code or the like this talk will be the Docker. Your wish, you can use Podman. Your wish, you can use Redshift. Your wish, you can use any of the services by Ubuntu, but I'll be using Docker. Uh, Let us say Reactor app. I just build up the code and yeah. What does this command say? Hey Docker, on this directory, on this local directory, on this current directory, on this current directory, giving the app name as reactor app latest using the tag, build up the file using all the code using this dot on the through this current directory, through this current directory. The dot symbolizes the current directory. I'll be giving them a password. Boom. It's typically finished. If I try to run it at sudo docker run, my bad, and 3000. and naming the container as reactor app container, the name of the container, and tell me which is the container or which is the image that we need to use, the recent image that we have built it up. I'm saying in this command, hey Docker, can you please create a container using this image in the daemon mode over the port 3000. Previously, it was working, it's still working, it's through the container. Okay, is shown in the container itself. Let us suppose I'm just did in this now and trying to run it again. Boom, it's not working because the container is not running. And if I run it again, it start running. It's a the words. All good, all set. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Tauqeer, that's a local one, now. What about the what I think we were telling about the GitHub container and all these things you have like collaborated for around 22 minutes. Let me tell you how we can do it. Let me close a current container and delete everything. I can just delete up the content. Perfect. And let me clear up the all the questions and all the decisions what I have built in it. Till here, everything fine. I'm currently using the Mac and using the Darwin system. So the image that will be built will be based upon ARM64, and we typically need on the like Ubuntu system or any other Linux system we need AMD64. But I believe both of the things are important. And this case, this topics come in the multi-arch. So I believe we should be building upon the local things and using the same flow. Let me clear up the content. And here are all my content here. We are according to the Docker file. And if I go to container or the packages, there's nothing. GitHub Container Registry I talk about and right. I search it over here on the Bing and and check it out how you can connect it. It says that hey Tawfiq, these are the steps you have to follow to connect your GitHub Container Registry, and there are some instances you have to follow while creating the container for the GitHub container. I'll be telling in 5 to 10 minutes. If I get to do personal token, it says like create a personal token here, or simply, uh, if I get to GitHub mobile, it asks for my authentication, so it's very security by GitHub itself. So obviously it's GitHub. I just got into it. So it says like, hey, create a personal access token and try to connect your system, your local system with the GitHub container registry. So for your purpose, I have already done with the things previously, right? So yeah, so with all the accessibilities and all the permission as a write packages, delete packages, so I've given the permission. All you need to do is export the personal access token. PAT means personal access token and CR means container. You are done and just echo it out using your Docker. If I say that hey Docker, please show that if you might be having any sort of error. This is my username at GitHub. So here you go. Done. The time I enter it, you will be connecting with the container registry. All set and all good. I have previously exported my CR path container registry person access token, so I don't need to do it because it will re-authenticate and take up some time. So you can just bring out the things and it's very easy. I'm just hitting an exit here. Our container registry is connected. Our all the content are ready, and then we need to just push it out. But before we push it out, we need to understand the multi-share and multi-build. How does the multi-build happen? That let us suppose you are working in a team, and then let us suppose you are a DevOps engineer, and then you have an user with Android system, you have an user with uh, ARM system, AMD system, whatever they are, and you have just built something for the AMD using the Linux, and it will be running on ARM system, ARM 64, ARM. No, it won't be running on ARM 64 because the architecture made to cache up the file, to build the file on certain processor is not matched here. So this is a quite important thing while you are a DevOps engineer to prepare a multi-platform content for all the users. So here we are with the same concept. Uh, and then if I directly tap it as if I directly try to build the content as, let me just have a quick overview from the overview. Don't worry, I'm explaining the command. I'm telling the sudo, I'm telling the Docker, hey Docker, using the sudo mode, you build an image, build a simple image using the buildx. What does the buildx do? Buildx is a legitimate service provided by the Docker itself to build a multi-art or multi-platform system. In the command, in the argument, what we are getting, hey build, this is a platform with a Linux system, AMD 64, with a Linux system, ARM 64, and all the stuff with the certain GitHub Container Registry. Now you might be thinking like, hey Tauqeer, what have you written with your username? Like gscr.io, gscr.io / Tauqeer Ahmad 5201 @nodeapp.1 version. Remember one thing, while using GitHub Container Registry, you need to follow a certain pattern to make it distinguished from the other container registry. Because since you are using a Docker every time, Docker cannot differentiate every time that, hey, this is the user, this is the Tauqeer user, and it is pushing to the that container registry. Let us suppose you have built a Docker container, or sorry, image, and you just want to push it over the cloud or any container registry. So how would you get to know it? Using a username, like using a username and the pattern they are following out. Docker Hub has some sort of different thing. ECR Elastic Container Registry or ACR Azure Container Registry has something they're different thing. You just need to copy paste it out and you are done. I'll be explaining a little bit more. So where I'm distinguishing it, and for here the load means like, hey, build the image and put it in the simple uh, container images section in my local PC. Let us build it out. No, my bad. The space was given, so yeah. Boom. Since it's being into the cache, so it's doing up their work. If I directly type it as Docker images, okay. So here you go. Previously, we were having the Reactor app, right? Now we are having GSCR, Tauqeer Ahmad 521 / Node app. We could have named it as Node app, but we have certainly tagged it using the this name because we need to push it over the GitHub Container Registry. Let us suppose uh, I'm building an image, Docker build, uh, Docker ops, just my Docker Hub ID and uh, Node app. So here you can see this is perfectly refined for Docker Hub. If you try to push it out at this moment, it won't be because it's not authenticated. It will be pushed to Docker Hub because it matches the syntax of the rule for being pushed over their repository. For the container in the on the GitHub, you need to follow their registry. That GitHub container.io, gsdr.io / talkingm521. Typically your username, you can just follow me on GitHub. And that's typically Node app. Any name you want to give with the tag. You can check it out. There are side differences. These two have the same sizes because the same architecture, same architecture. But it's a multi-build. It's a multi-build, multi-platform build, multi-arch build. So here is the catch. You need to understand, like, hey, why is it so? You need to understand what's the real concept behind this. You have the images, right? And the time comes in, and the times comes in. Uh, You can also check it out on Docker Desktop. It's everything there. And then yeah, if you might be having some questions, hey, Tauqeer GSCR1 can be run or not? So obviously it can run. Docker run -t uh, node app container and hope so it's not running. And through which image? Through this image. Yes, the whole name will be copied out. Oh my bad, my bad. It shows that it has not been cached, so it might be having some problem. So got it. It's typically accessible here, right? Got it, got it. Uh, Before we dive into this topic, it might be not running because it was not earlier accessible. But if I try to delete all of these stuff, the other thing should be deleted because it take up your space. Unable to find. Okay, it's try to like try to take up the things locally, so it's not running it yet. But yeah, the time we try to push it up using the container, so it will be running through that portal itself. So we'll try to push it out. Sudo docker push. So at this moment, we are not having any sort of node app. You can just check it out. We are not having any node app. Let us suppose it's not no tag is there. Oh, got it, got it. The earlier it was not running because we are not giving the V1 section. It was my bad. I was not able to understand why it's not locally finding it. Let us run the container which we have built for the container itself. Boom. You remember it was not running? Hello world, Microsoft Reactor, right? Hey Tauqeer, can we push it over there? Now is the time? Yes, it's the time because it's already cached now, so it has the data. Let me see the packages. Remember, by default, GitHub uses their security. It keeps the thing private. Package settings, go to package setting, check it out. Change visibility. Let's not it. Here you go. It tells that hey, I hope we are in a conscious mind that you are able to doing it open source. So yeah, the very core feature of the GitHub is this feature. Ta-da. See, the time you connect any of the repository, on that repository, if you go over there, that packages will be shown. The Node app will be shown. So it's one of the finest feature being provided by the GitHub, so that it tells that the whole code with according to packages is being dispatched to the our user, our end user. They can also get their code, the local code, so that they can set it up. If they don't want any code, if they want to try it out, simply try it out in an easy manner, they can just use their image built by us and their container to run it out. Since it's OCI compliant image, so there's no problem to that this system can run or not. Or even it's multi-platform and multi-chain, the size will be very less and it can be run on most of the platforms, right? Let me not connect it because my repository is not synced, but I wanted to show you one thing that you need to understand in a legitimate manner. If you see over here, there's an operating system and arch system. There's an operating system and arch system, right? Operating system and arch. If I click it over there, it says that, hey, Docker pull, this is the code for Linux AMD64, Linux ARM64, and the unknown mode for the backup part because if there is code of out of the sync, they can sketch it again, right? Let us suppose, I'm deleting everything. Docker system prune A. Yes, deleted. I'm very happy. Deleted. If I try to get any of the image, it won't be deleted because it's running the container. Let's scale it up. Let me delete everything. So according to this, it won't be running because it's run. But since we have built up the content, we have our own uh, package. What we can do is simply copy this thing. It's pulling the pulling the container, pulling the image, not the container image. It says, hey, it's downloaded. If I tell it again to run it, it's running. It's obviously running. So this is obviously you need to understand like how the code is being mm, is made for all of these stuff, right? So let me check it out if you have any questions around and oh, since I have my uh, monitor over here. Well, yeah, it's working fine. And yeah, if I have any question and thing you want to discuss, We are here to get discussed, and yeah, it's almost done. Seeing you again. Thank you very much. Let me have my drink. For reading most of the content here, you have GitHub Container Registry packages. Just learn it out from here, and let me have some of the written blog. You can then, if you need some sort of revision, uh, I have my GitHub Container Registry packages. It's absolutely done, and yeah, just try it out. The blog I have mentioned. Being as a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, we are the developer advocates at Microsoft as a student at Microsoft Learn. So it's our duty to advocate the students. So yeah, get connected to us and yeah, be a force for good. Try out to read the most of the content from the official documentation. Rashmita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tauqeer, for hosting this amazing session, and thank you all for joining us today. Please visit Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming sessions. Also, we would appreciate your feedback on today's session as it will help us to curate future sessions. Please scan the QR code and do share your feedback. Feel free to use the Learn module link. This will give you access to additional resources to take your learning further. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day.